Hi friends, Kate the Button Lady here with my dog Pepper. Today we're going to do our first video about history. Don't yawn, that's rude. It's not going to be boring, I swear. Go away, go. Okay, alright, woo, crown, oh my gosh. Okay, so history has never been my strong suit. I was never a good student. I can never remember names and dates, which is why I wrote them down for this video. So we're going to talk about King Louis XIV. There were a lot of Louis, but he was the most important. He had a 72-year reign, and he was instrumental in making Paris the fashion capital it is today. So how did he do that? Well, he had a very savvy finance minister named Jean-Baptiste Colbert who helped him establish a lot of economic development programs that really helped Parisian people get into the trades of textiles and clothing manufacturing, which included buttons. Basically made it so groups of women could come together and make women's clothes and children's clothes and be okay to work, and it was all fine by the king. So that was instrumental in making, fashion really take the next step, because up until then, Spain, Madrid had been the center of fashion. And when Spain was off discovering the New World, France kind of stepped on in and really started to import all these things and gather all these ideas and really start to adapt and make their own styles. We actually get the word button from France. Bouton is actually the French word for button. And how cool is that? The number one button that France is actually known for was under glass buttons, and that was basically, it was a pictograph of like a small portrait or a scene depicted, and then it was put under a glass. Really, really, really pretty. I sadly don't have any in my collection, but it's on my to-do list. Buttons around this time were made from bone. They were either cow or pig, sometimes horn if it was available, but they were very utilitarian. They weren't very ornate in this around the 1600s. They were mostly just, they would steam or soak these bones until they were soft and malleable enough to slice to the thickness they needed for the buttons, and then they would cut them out, and then they would drill the holes to make them. And they'd polish them a little bit, but most of the archaeological finds that we have from this time are really in rough shape. But they've lasted longer than the other cloth and style buttons. Always a popular item. Actually, in the 1700s, most of the metal buttons were purely decorative. They really weren't used to fasten other than military coats. And you could actually, noblemen would pay workers and people by plucking a button off their coat and giving it to the people. You could literally pay people in buttons, which is awesome. I would take payment in buttons. I think I have taken payment in buttons, so that's rad. Aluminum in the 1900s became popular, but most of the buttons up until then were steel or silver, sometimes gold, but the aluminum in the 1900s, early 1900s, were really scarce. It was not a very common metal until much later, and then for a while there, aluminum was more expensive than gold. So if you had aluminum buttons, you could live quite comfortably. So if I time travel, I'm going to take all my aluminum buttons with me, and I will be rich for like at least a good 15 to 20 year span I will post all of the research links that I have below if you want to read some really fascinating articles that go a little bit more in depth on King Louis and his fashion influence. Also, please subscribe, give me a thumbs up. I could really use the help in growing this tiny little channel. I want to share more and be more active this year, so please help me do that. Anyway, you want doggo? You want to say goodbye? You want to say goodbye? Come here. Come here. Okay. That bird didn't want to be left out of the video again. Thank you for joining me for this little slice of button history. I'm Kate the Button Lady. See you next week. Bye!